Good evening. Welcome to the September 18th meeting of the Stillwater Planning Commission. I'll call this meeting to order. First item for business is items for discussion and possible action. Karen Burr, map amendment MA 18-06, requesting review and approval of a map amendment to rezone property addressed as 1504 West 8th Avenue from RSS residential single-family small lot to O zoning district. Staff, good evening.
Good evening. Lance Gross with Development Services. The map amendment before you tonight is located at 1504 West 8th Avenue. The purple boundary is the subject site. It's currently zoned RSS, residential small lot, single family. The zoning to the east and the west is P, public. To the south is O, office. This is a street view looking to the north. The house currently fronts onto 8th Avenue. Some of the findings are, let's see, there's actually office, public, and RSS zoning surrounding the property. The C3 plan recommends this area to be commercial. And it's an area in transition. It's south of the hospital. And office is a compatible use with some of the existing uses. Any questions?
No. There being no questions, I will now open the public hearing. Anyone wishing to speak in favor of the item, please step forward, give your name and address for the record. I don't know. Anyone who's in favor. If you're in favor of it, you can speak now if you wish.
Yes, I am in favor.
Okay. Your name and address for the record.
Thank you. My name is Karen Burr, and I am currently residing at 1604 Fairway Drive in Perkins, Oklahoma. The address 1504 West 8th Avenue is also a home that I own. We have recently moved from there to Perkins, and we're in the process of doing some cosmetic updating and getting ready to either sell, lease, or rent the house. And thank you for your time. You have any questions?
You don't have any specific plans for the office rezone at the...
No, I have several vague, ideas. We are a family of entrepreneurs. So my husband is retired, but contracts out, so he has a business of his own. My daughter also has a business. But I, as we got ready to put the house up for sale, I had a few friends mention to me that would be a really good area for a small business. And I thought about it and applied with the city to see what the steps were to do that, and went ahead and proceeded thinking that it would give us some options. But currently, nothing solid in the house has not been listed yet. So like I said, we're still doing a little repairs and cosmetic fixing up on the inside before we do that.
All right, thank you, Ms. Burr.
Anything else?
That's all. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to speak in favor of the item, please step forward and give your name and address for the record. Seeing none, anyone wishing to speak in opposition to the item, please step forward, give your name and address for the record. Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing and ask for staff's alternatives.
The alternatives are accept the findings and recommend approval as presented, or find the request is not appropriate and recommend denial, or table to a certain date.
All right.
I do have just a couple of
please.
questions.
Sure.
If this is rezoned to office and it abuts residential to the north, will there be a screening requirement on that at this point?
Not initially, but if they do come in for, say, a building permit or something like, they will be required to put a screening up. Yes.
I knew we had to have screening between the commercial and
Yes.
and residential uses. So also, with the rezone, if it goes through, having the residential house there, it can still continue to be a residential home and all that you don't have to, it won't change the use, or is there a time limit that it can be residential, or how does that work, Lance?
You know, that's, let me check real quick.
No problem.
You probably heard that, but I'll repeat it.
Please.
The residential use can continue for a year, but after that, the non-conforming use goes away.
And then what is her option at that point?
To use it as an office, basically, or any of the uses underneath the office.
Or if anyone buys the property, then the year, it's still a year, no matter
Correct.
what.
Yes, that is correct.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure that she was aware of that.
Yeah,
So it's kind of a big deal sometimes.
yeah.
What the stipulations are again?
If the zoning is changed to office, then if you wanted the house to be residential, it could only be for 1 year as residential, and after that, it must turn into those purposes which are of office. So you couldn't like turn it to office today, but leave it as a house for the next 5 or 10 years or something like that, people living in it.
Or conversely, after a year, people can't live in it.
Exactly.
that correct?
That's a better way to phrase it, probably.
Correct, yes.
I just wanted to make sure,
Yeah.
because sometimes that doesn't carry through to the applicants, and so it's kind of a big deal.
That's a great point.
Thank you.
Yes.
All right. Other questions for staff or any discussion amongst the board?
I think the key in my mind is the applicant now knowing this, that can only be used for residential for 1 year. Does she still want to go forward with this office zoning? Because
Oh, it's not right? Oh, sorry.
A clarification.
All right.
Patty's going to explain it.
All right.
Hi, Patty Evans, Development Services. They haven't lived in the house since sometime in July, so they have a year's time to get somebody into the house. If they don't get somebody in the house to live there within a year, then that non-conforming use will go away.
Okay.
So it's not like they can get somebody in there, they can live there a year, I mean, they can live there 5 years, 10 years, whatever. It's just that there's a year's time when it's not being used as a residential, that's when that nonconformity
so
goes away.
if they get somebody in 6 months and they live there for 3 years and they've rented the place, now they move out, is it now that they have to make it office, or can they move somebody within 6 months?
Yes, they
and
can
then-
move somebody in there.
And then so it could remain a rental property for the next 20, 25 years, as long as there's not a 12-month gap.
That's correct.
Okay.
Great. Well, thanks for
Good,
clarifying
good
that.
clarification. Thank you. Thank you,
Thanks.
Mike.
Yep.
Does the applicant still want to move forward based upon that?
If the house is sold, and if the buyer wants it as an office space, then it would be an office space for as long as they desire.
As long as they desire and they don't want the zoning to be changed, yes. Now, if you sell it, and I'm going to make a statement here, and you're going to follow up, because I've worked in several different cities, and sometimes I get city regulations for which city messed up. If you sell it, now it's got to be conforming. The new owner,
No.
the new owner can rent it out within a year, and it can stay a rental property for the next 20 years under the new owner?
There's enough issues here, and basically what we're doing now is giving the applicant some advice, which really we probably shouldn't ought to do. I would recommend cutting off that part of the discussion, either vote to approve as presented, deny as presented, table it to a date certain. It's for the applicant to determine what they want to do, but at this, putting the board in a position to give the applicant advice at this point, I don't think is advisable.
I understand, I was just clarifying what the rules were in my mind.
And that's okay, but I think we're confusing her, so.
Okay.
I mean, I don't have a problem moving forward with it. And obviously, it'll go to city council as well, so you'll have a little time to think about it if you decide to change your mind.
I move to accept findings and recommend the city council approve the proposed map amendment as presented.
I'll second.
It has been moved and seconded that we accept the findings and recommend City Council approve the proposed map amendment as presented. We will now vote. The motion passes 3 yes, no no's, 0 no's. Next item for business is Rogers, Gary, and Mickey Final Plat SUB 18-14 requesting review and approval of a final plat to replat property addressed as 700 East Northgate Avenue in order to create 10 residential lots. Staff.
Thank you. The final replat before you is located at 700 East Northgate Avenue. The purple boundary indicates the subject site. It is north of Richmond and east of Perkins. This property was part of a final replat that was not approved by the City Council in 2017 due to the inability to obtain 40 PSI water pressure. The Stillwater design standards were amended recently to allow new low-pressure water mains subject to meeting certain criteria. This is a street view looking to the northwest at the site. And this is the plat, basically showing 10 lots. It's the same exact design that was submitted previously. The findings, the final replat was not approved in 2017. The city standards were amended to allow low-pressure water mains. The applicant submitted an exception request recently, and it was approved by the city manager. And it's required to do a low-pressure water main agreement, which is in the works right now. Any questions?
Just for public information, can you briefly let us know what that low-pressure main requirement is now? Just in general, nothing particular, but.
It has to be above 30 PSI. That's one of the requirements. And I believe Kelly can probably explain a little bit more.
I was just curious
Possibly.
more than anything. So,
Yeah,
all right.
so it could be basically between 30 and 40.
Okay.
Yeah,
Because I think state's 30, right?
correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
25, okay.
Oh, 25.
Gotcha. Okay. That's kind of all I wanted to know, just for me and the public.
Yes.
Thank you.
Anything else?
No more questions. We'll now open the public hearing. Anyone wishing to speak in favor of the item, please step forward and give your name and address for the record.
Good evening, Kelly Harris with Keystone Engineering, located at 923 South Lowry. I was trying to get this map to pop back up. Like Lance said, you did see this last year come through. It did have 2 more lots and a common area with the plat last year. Down in this area, we were able to complete some minor subdivisions last year and go ahead and create those lots. So those have been pulled off of this replat that's before you now. And as Lance said, we have submitted that application or an exception to be considered for the low water main area. So we're taking the steps. All that is we're required to provide additional information, notes on the plans stating that this is a low-pressure main. I believe once it's finalized, we'll have to file a notification at the courthouse for each one of these lots so that future owners are aware of that. And then also we'll be allowed or required to have individual booster pumps on each one of these lots to get them to the 40 PSI.
Thank you, Kelly.
Any other
Appreciate the
questions?
explanation.
Yep,
So you will put pumps on each of the lots to get them to the proper pressure?
correct. And that information is given to the city at building permit stage. So once the homeowner comes in and the home builder does that information.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to speak in favor of the item, please step forward. Seeing none, anyone wishing to speak in opposition to the item, please step forward. Seeing none, I will close the public hearing and ask for staff alternatives.
Your alternatives are accept findings, recommend as presented, or find the request is not appropriate and recommend denial, or you can table the document to, or the item to a certain date.
All right. Any other questions for staff?
No.
Any discussion among the board?
I'd like to make a motion.
Okay,
Accept findings and recommend that the city council approve the final replat as presented.
Second?
it has been moved and seconded that we accept the findings and recommend that City Council approve the final replat as presented. We will now vote. The motion passes 3 yes, 0 no's. The next item for business is the approval of meeting summary. We have the approval of corrected meeting summary of August 7th, 2018. I have a motion to accept.
I so move.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded that we approve the corrected meeting summary of August 7th, 2018. The motion passes 3 yes, 0 no. We'll have approval of the regular meeting summary of September 11th, 2018.
Recommend approval.
I will second.
It has been moved and seconded that we approve the regular meeting summary of September 11th, 2018. The motion passes 3 yes to no, 0 no's. Miscellaneous items from staff, planning commissioners, or city attorney. Next planning commission meeting will be October 2nd, 2018. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I move to adjourn.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to adjourn. The motion passes 3 yes, 0 no. Thank you all very much this evening.